Chris, what are your grocery store etiquette questions? I've been wanting to get to this all week because I've heard you talking about it, but I haven't heard the specifics of what the subject matter is.
Well, I often have, I feel uneasy in a grocery store because I just never know. I don't want to offend people. There's just a lot of judgy people sometimes in grocery stores. I've often talked about how when in the produce section, am I allowed to, I don't want to say fondle, but, touch all the tomatoes, before I decide on a tomato, am I allowed to pick it up and touch it and look at it? Because I feel like people are looking at me like, oh, you're touching that thing, you better buy it. Anyways, so I've had that discussion before.
So that's not even one of the etiquette questions.
That's just a setup.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Should you be fondling the tomatoes in produce?
The answer is yes. I do it all the time.
And people have kind of told me that is allowed because then you go home, you're supposed to wash them. So you're good.
Yes.
The question today is I often see people, and you know me, this makes me jealous. They're walking through Publix. They have a shopping cart. They're just eating chips. And they're just drinking sodas. Mm-hmm. And what's the etiquette on this? If I'm going to pay for it, am I allowed to just take a bag of chips off the shelf, open it, and as I'm shopping, just eat it?
So I like to start with a bag of chips and a soda, a little fountain soda, and by the time I'm done shopping, because I love a stroll through Publix, especially on a Sunday, okay? By the time I'm done with the soda, done with the chips, and I just throw them in the garbage, don't pay for them. How about that, Teddy?
Not surprising at all. I would have just guessed that.
So you steal.
Yes, he's a thief.
I mean, technically, listen,
Technically.
What's the technicality
here?
here?
There's no technically. That's just a crime. You just admitted to a crime.
I mean, is it stealing if you don't leave the place with the items? I mean, I'm eating them in store. I mean, come on.
This was my father's move throughout my childhood. For my entire childhood, I thought all those candies that were just out in that group candy thing that you'll find occasionally in a supermarket, I thought that was just there for customers because my father would just grab a handful and eat it as he was walking through the grocery store and then just put the wrappers near the soup cans.
My dad, first of all, my dad does the same thing and he calls it grazing. I'm just grazing.
Those chuckles, right? He did it with those chuckles.
He did it with everything. He did it with just all kinds of candies throughout my childhood. We should accuse my father of that when he comes in here in a few minutes.
So the way I'm feeling that the room is as long as I'm going to pay for it, I'm allowed to do it. I also, because the bakery is a different section. Sometimes they have these Jamaican beef patties and the croquetas, and they put them in a little package they seal it, and it's got the price on it. Am I allowed to, same rule, I'm asking the same question. Is it just allowed in general?
It's allowed, but you don't want to be the fat guy who's doing it.
Oh, I know. It's totally embarrassing. Walking around Publix eating a Jamaican beef patty. It is not a good look. I do it all the time because, like I said, secret meals for my wife.
You're allowing others to question your restraint.
I do eat it really fast. It takes one row. I'm down one aisle. By the time I'm done with that aisle, it's gone.
There is no one here who's surprised that Stugatz would eat entire meals. I'm surprised you don't eat a week's worth of groceries just wandering around a grocery store for a week, treating it like that terrible Tom Hanks Terminal movie.
Chris, do you go to the deli line and they give you a nice little thin slice of honey roasted turkey or something like that?
Oh, now that I will admit, I've got a little Stugatz me with that.
Yes.
Sometimes, because they're very generous with letting you try stuff in the deli.
Yes.
Cheeses, meats. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm interested in a quarter pound of provolone. Can I let me try it.
Right.
And then she'll cut me a thing of provolone and I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to circle back. I'm not sure.
You always circle back.
I'm not sure if I want to do the cheese yet.
Yes.
I'll come back around.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the hustle right there. Is you tell them, hey, I want a quarter pound of this, and then they give it to you. Say, is this thin? And say, no.
Little thinner. Or thinner. Doesn't matter. Just to get more.
Ooh, while we're on the topic, I also have a young child now. So when I bring her to Publix, they give out free cookies. Publix is great about this. I just walk right up. They hand her a cookie, keeps her occupied. Am I allowed to have a bite of this cookie? Because technically it's for the kids. Am I allowed to have a bite of this cookie?
So many questions. You're going to the grocery store and you're giving more thought to things than most people do.
You're allowed to have the entire cookie.
Don't take Stugatz's advice on any of this. He's just admitted that he's a thief.
I say my kids are in the car. My kids aren't even there when I get the cookie.
That's right.
That.
That's right.
Okay, I have a different situation. Are you ever drinking a water bottle or soda, and then you walk into the store, and then you're really paranoid that they're going to think that you...
Every time.
Yeah, every single time. Yeah.
Every single time I go into the store, I'm worried about that. And sometimes I'll even walk in and I'll hold it up so the security camera sees, hey, water bottle here. Just on the off chance.
You announce your drink?
Just on the off chance that I get stopped on the way out, I can say, hey, let's go look at the security footage because I showed very clearly that I walked in with this item.
My nightmare is that I say, let's check the security footage, and they say, no, we don't need to. How can I convince them to go through the extra steps of going to the footage?